Hey, what's up you guys? In this video we're gonna work on this flashlight in 3ds Max and Substance Painter, so please, if you're new, subscribe and like this video. Alright, so now we're gonna start working on this flashlight in 3ds Max. This one here is gonna take a good amount of time when it comes to modeling, so hopefully we can learn some things about modeling. So we are starting from cylinder, as you can see here, and it is actually a good thing to give it a good number of sides, because we want this model here to be smoother than the average, because it's mainly a cylinder, and usually cylinders need to have a little bit more when it comes to sides in the polygon. Alright, so we're gonna start here using traditional tools of 3ds Max that we always use in order to make sure that things are smooth and everything. Alright, right now we're gonna work on the body of the flashlight. We're using the edge extrusion method. Keep holding shift all the time in order to extrude these edges. Keep holding shift, then move the edges in order to extrude them. Also, we're going to use the scale tool and the move tool all the time, because they are basically the main tools for manipulating and moving the edges around in order to create the shapes we are generating right now. Alright, so the body of the flashlight is going to be something, or the case of the flashlight is going to be something that is going to be quick to create. So except that there are some details in the back that we probably need to spend some time on. Alright, here we are trying to make sure that the details we are going to create here are going to be created properly, because we're going to have to create some interesting details. Just wait a minute and we will actually work on these. Okay, by adding this edge here, we are setting the boundaries for the nice detail that is going to be on top. Alright, as you can see here, we're going to select few edges, connect them. Probably you can't see what's going on yet, but in a moment you will be able to understand what's going on here. So by extruding these, I'm trying to create a curve. Actually, by chamfering these, I'm creating a curve on the edges, smooth curve. And now we need to move things a little bit, because it seems like these vertices are overlapping or something of that sort. So we're gonna make sure that these are not gonna be we're gonna make sure that there isn't gonna be a conflict between these vertices and these edges, because it's not gonna be good for our mesh. Right now we are connecting these vertices because we can't leave them as they are, since we can't actually deal with, we don't want to keep n-gons open. And n-gons, by the way, are polygons with more than 4 sides. So from 5 sides and beyond is going to be called n-gons. And probably you cannot understand what's going on yet, but if you have the reference image, or if you have the reference image that you're going to find on Patreon, or if you wait a little bit, you're going to be able to understand what's going on here. I usually find it better to use reference images rather than just following me and waiting for what I'm doing, because you kind of you're not in the same page with me. So right now you kind of understand what's going on. So here uh, we are gonna create an inset here, and because we are gonna be able, we're going now to extrude these surfaces or these polygons to the inside. Alright, so as you can see here, we inset once again to create a circle, and of course this is gonna be we gotta extrude it. As you can see, extrude the edges. Okay, we are trying to add another detail here by extruding these polygons, these set of polygons. And in order to create these circle with selections of polygons, we actually need to kind of actually select the edges using the ring tool on top, and then you're gonna keep holding control, then select the polygon selection in order to convert the edge selection to poly selection. I hope this makes sense. Alright, for now we're trying to create the handle that is going to be in the back of the flashlight using the line, and we're going to follow the path we have. Alright, from the perspective view you can see that we can control the size and thickness of this line with Alright, we are modifying right now the size of this piece here, and because we're trying to match it with the path it has to follow. Alright, we can of course delete the polygons in the ends because they are not necessary. Using the symmetry modifier, we are able to duplicate the other and create the other side. Of course, we're going to reduce the welding threshold because we don't want all the vertices to be welded kind of randomly and in the wrong way. Alright, for now it's time to add a little bit of details. So we are gonna add two lines over here because we want to create some nice details. And as you can see, we are gonna chamfer these two lines and we're gonna extrude the surfaces. So select these two edges, ring, keep holding Control, select polygon to convert edge selection to poly selection, then extrude using the polygonal option in order to extrude them equally. Right now I think it is time to work on the inner side of the flashlight. Alright, as you can see here, we are trying to create sort of a hemisphere inside. We could have used a hemisphere in order to perform this, but doing it manually also is going to work. Alright, by chamfering that edge right there, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to be able to create more smooth edges, which is what we want. Alright, so using this cylinder, you can see me creating here, we're going to create the bulb and the bulb holder inside the flashlight. Alright, by detaching that surface right there, we're gonna be able to work on the next the next piece, which is gonna be the bulb. So keep holding shift all the time, and we are right now trying to create something that is gonna be hemispherical in the front. Alright, by chamfering this edge, we are kind of smoothing everything, and we are creating something that is going to be creating a hemisphere in the front. So we probably need to push these vertices back a little bit, because things this way are going to be a little bit smoother. All right, by detaching these polygons here, we can create the glass in the front of the flashlight. So we're gonna try to position it in the right place. Then we're gonna collapse those polygons or that border, as you can see. By giving it the shell modifier, we're gonna give it more thickness. We're gonna apply the an opacity material to this surface, because we want to be able to see through. Otherwise, it's gonna be very difficult to deal with the bulb and the bulb holder inside the that area. All right, right now we are gonna work on the switch of the flashlight. So there's gonna be a switch and a small lamp, and probably two layers to it. So we're gonna start working on it right now. So we're gonna select a few polygons, and we're gonna detach them as an element, and we're gonna start working on it. All right, as you can see, we are trying to make it a little bit narrow. Of course, we are moving across the edges because we don't want to mess things up in perspective. Of course, this piece here is kind of separated into two areas, it looks like so. All right, as you can see, we just used the target weld tool in order to weld these vertices. Also here we're gonna chamfer this edge in the center because we want a smooth curve in the back. Okay, by adding these two edges here, we are going to be able to smooth things out using the chamfer tool. The chamfer tool, I find it to be very important when it comes to creating curves and adding edges and trying to duplicate stuff. It's very, very effective. So as you can see here, adding the shell modifier is gonna give this piece thickness, which is something obviously we need. We are adjusting the size and the distance between the vertices in the back. Thickness, it seems like it is a little bit too much, so there is, as I said before, another layer to this switch area, so we're gonna start working on it. And this one probably is the most complicated piece in this flashlight so far because it has some tricky parts. Alright, so we're gonna start adding some edges over here in order to make sure that we're gonna start working on other details. So as you can see, we are trying to connect these vertices in these triangles. Of course, here we are trying to extrude this area. We don't want it. We don't want it to be extruded that much, but probably this is all subject to change. We can change it later as we please. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Alright, it seems like we have kind of two areas here we need to extrude. Kind of it's this piece here has lots of triangles. That's why it's a little bit interesting to deal with. Alright, probably we're making it a little bit narrower. And of course these vertices in the back need to be adjusted accordingly. Alright, this nice detail in the back is interesting. Alright, so now we are adding a screw or something, and over here we're gonna add a light. So it's gonna be a lamp. So we are adding a lamp holder than a lamp itself. Alright, so we are making good progress on this piece here. So for now we're gonna work on the next thing, which is gonna be switch. So the actual switch. Alright, so Here we are copying these polygons, and we will detach them from the surface, as you can see. And it's going to be a starting point for another mesh that we are creating. So bear with me here. Alright, adding the shed modifier is gonna give us some thickness, which is really necessary. Alright, so we are extruding these edges in order to create the next part of this piece here. Alright, we are adding more details here, so we're gonna select these polygons and we will extrude them. Alright, we are trying to create this nice detail in the corner or in the, on the side, which is not that big of a deal, but it seems like it will add something, of course. And the polygons below this piece here are not necessary since they're not going to be seen in the first place. Alright, so right now we are creating the two layers, one for the high poly and one for the low poly. So this is very important because this is a low poly model, and since this is going to be a game ready model we are working on right now, it is very important to work on the high poly and on the low poly as well. So by the way, to be honest, I lost the files in which I work on the low poly and UV unwrapping and naming and stuff. So from the high poly modeling, we're gonna jump straight to texturing and substance painter. So sorry for that. Sometimes these things happen. I honestly don't know where the recording files went, so I apologize for that. Okay, as you can see here, we are adding support edges, which is a very important thing to keep everything in place when we add the Turbo Smooth modifier. All right, here, this area here is going to be interesting because it has so many corners and stuff, so we're going to be able to do this using the inset tool in order to kind of reduce the intensity of the strain in the corners and everything else once we apply the Turbo Smooth modifier. So, of course, we're going to add some manual support to reinforce that. All right, it seems like we're getting some nice results here, and of course, this manual, this menu, this type of support edges we created manually is not something I usually do, but sometimes it's necessary. It is necessary if there are kind of complications in the mesh and lots of triangles we need to have. We're gonna have to do it manually. Of course, this inner side or the side that is facing the body of the flashlight we need to remove. Also, we can start here adding some support edges as well. When it comes to this piece, we have also some a good number of triangles, so probably we have to do this manually using the cut tool for the most part. Alright, this piece here is also going to be a little bit interesting because we have some triangles and we have to also do some manual support if necessary. Alright, delete the inner side. It's not necessary. Okay, when we apply the Turbo Smooth, it seems like the results are very good. Seems like. Alright, so now we are in Substance Painter and it is time to bring the low poly that I didn't show you how to create. But you should be able to manage to do it yourself if you are used to my tutorials. And right now we're gonna start baking the details from the high poly to the low poly. So we're gonna go to the texture sets and we're gonna open the baking dialog and bring the high poly and change some of the parameters. Alright, so change the suffix, the high poly and the low poly. Change also parameters of the ID and the AO, which are the most important ones. Alright, so when the bake is done, we're gonna start adding some smart materials and stuff. So the first folder is for the steel material, and as you can see, this material is very good. So we're gonna use the polygon fill tool in order to select the parts that are gonna be affected by this material. For the most part, they're gonna be almost everything. So this is kind of interesting. Alright, so now we're gonna add a glass smart material, so I'm gonna drop it in there inside this folder. Of course, we need to add a black mask to select, and then use the polygon fill to select the area that's going to be affected. I select the that piece right there. All right, nice. All right, we're gonna drop another material, which is gonna be in the plastic folder. Add a black mask. Go to polygon fill, and we still are gonna select this piece here. Nice. Even though it does not look exactly like we want it to. So we are probably the opacity is not gonna help us or something of that sort, because I believe this material it needs more than that. But for demonstration purposes, we're not gonna go deep into those details. As you can see, when we add opacity, the opacity channel, it's gonna look silly. So it's not gonna look exactly like we want it to. All right, for now we are gonna actually use a paint layer, and this is gonna be very important because if we don't add any other details, it's gonna be really hard to kind of make it look good. Alright, it seems like the surfaces of the body of the flashlight and the switch area, as you can see here, are overlapping, which is causing this problem. So we need to paint over these areas. Okay, right now we need to create or erase kind of some lines in order to create some nice details. So you're going to select the mask, the erasing tool, the eraser. Keep holding shift in order to paint a straight line or to erase a straight line. This should do it. Go the other way. Alright, it seems like we're getting this thing right. This time we're going to make the brush a little bit bigger because we want something different. Alright, so these nice details are adding some few things, some interesting things to how this flashlight generally looks. Here in the back, we are going to add the steel material to the handle. Also, we are going to duplicate the base layer of the steel smart material because we want to add some text in the back. Alright, so when we duplicate this layer, we're going to add a black mask. Go to alphas. We're going to search for a font. Alright, so for now we're going to use this font to create a number in the back. We're going to go with number 10, which is what is appearing in the reference image. Alright, also we need to change the height information. We're going to go to probably basic parameters. And increase the height value. Alright, so this is looking much better. Alright, Seems like this is what we can do for now when it comes to texturing this flashlight. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. Sorry for the weird cut in between because I lost the files as I said before. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our second channel if you're new. And if you want the files and the models and everything else, please go to Patreon because you're gonna find everything there. And if you would like to support us, you are very welcome and it's gonna be very much appreciated. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the flip side.